Welcome! In this series of videos, we will look at software add-ons for both the PowerBasic console and Windows compilers. Today, we will look at the Layout32 add-on from Prometheus Software. Today we're going to look at the Layout32 add-on for PowerBasic Windows compiler. But first, let's look at what this particular add-on brings to your application development. What we have here is a small application I've put together that has a single form with two labels, two text boxes, a list view and two buttons. Now the size of this form is quite adequate with what it shows, but if we set the form to be resizable, then the user can quite happily increase or decrease the size of the form just by dragging the corner. Now the contents of the form are not moving around, they're not resizing themselves, they're not repositioning themselves, because there is no code in the application to perform this task. There is no restriction on the user how big they make the window or how small. The problem in your application with this, if you wish to take advantage of users with larger screens, is that when you hit the maximize button, while the form does maximize, the content of the form does not. Now, if we have a look at the code itself, in the event handler of our code, in the callback function, you can put in a WM size, and in there you can put code in to move all your controls around based on what the user has done to resize the control. However, if you're developing a number of applications and a number of forms, plumbing all this code in can be quite laborious. So it's quite sensible when doing this kind of plumbing code is to write something generic. In this case, Prometheus Software has actually done this for you. That is where the Layout32 code comes in. So let's take a look at how we can use this generic library. I'm not being paid to promote this product, it just has saved me a great deal of time on a daily basis. The code comes in two forms, a free version which does have a pop-up menu, or a paid version which does not. I'll put links in the description below to where you can actually download the software from. Now if we have a look at the code. Now at the top of your program, it does have a few constants declared, mainly to ensure that the version of Windows, Internet Explorer, etc. you're using are not really old versions, which they are unlikely to be. Now, after we've included the standard Windows 32 API, there are two lines which you'll need to include in your program. One, to include a layout include file, which is a series of constants which you can use within your application, and the static linked library. It does come with a DLL if you wish to use that, but my preference is for the static link library. Now, having linked this code in, what changes do you have to make to your code to get the resizing to operate? Well, if we have a look at the main code, here's the creation of a dialog. The dialog is created with some controls on it, and the only change you have to make are a series of rules. The first rule of note is the one which limits the minimum size of the dialog. Since this dialog has been declared in pixels, the minimum size is 307 by 200. So, having set the minimum size of the dialog, you can then add rules for each of the controls or groups of controls on the dialog itself. Each of these rules takes as the first parameter the dialog handle, and then takes a series of parameters after that. Now, the product does come with an extensive help file which describes what all of these rules actually do and how to use them. For example, each rule follows the same layout and lets you define what is to happen to a control on the dialog when the dialog is resized. So for example, we have in here two buttons. We have an OK button and we have a cancel button. Now there are two rules applying to these two. The first one is to horizontally center it as a group. The second one is to move the buttons to the bottom of the screen, as the bottom of the screen actually moves down. Now let's try the code and see what it does. Right, this is the trial version, as you can see. And there's a dialog. A simple dialog, 3 controls. 1 text box and 2 buttons. Now, as you saw before, this is a resizable dialog. If we grab the corner of this dialog and stretch it, unlike the previous dialog, you will see that the objects change position and size depending on your rules. Now they have a minimum size, so you can't go below that size, so it stops the user doing what we had before. If the user maximizes it, we've maximized the complete size of this text box, and the OK and Cancel buttons are horizontally centered at the bottom of the form. So just for a few lines of code, you can actually control the resizing of your forms. So this has been a very short introduction to what you can do with Layout32. I'll be doing another video later on the more advanced things you can do. Thank you for watching.